We talked last night about the NDIS and the rorting of it. It seems the minister responsible, Bill Shorten, though, is more concerned with critics of the scheme than those ripping it off. How else can you explain his performance today when confronted by Laura Jays here on Sky? Shorten was defensive and aggressive, resorting to the old excuse, well, it was in worse shape when we took over than it is now.
I'm the bloke who hired John Dardo, because before I became the minister, the back office of the NDIA was not scrutinising it at all. The media sometimes want to talk about all the problems, and that's legitimate.
Yeah.
The fact that we're having this conversation is because of me and the government of the day.
Sure. $2 billion a year, and we're sitting here talking about a cost of living crisis.
OK. Now you're finished, I'll just tell you, I get up every day and work on this scheme. When I came in, there were only 41 investigations underway. There's now 220. When I came in, only $231 million of payments had been investigated. Now it's several billions of dollars. When I was in opposition, I couldn't get a lot of interest out of the media to talk about the problems. And now I'm in government. The problems are worse than I thought. When you talk about the level and you say cost, I still call it investment.
Well, he's kidding, surely, when his own fraud investigator, John Dardo, told Senate estimates that NDIS clients were actually visiting ATMs with their provider to draw out cash to buy drugs. And when asked what sort of drugs, he had this to say.
You name it, it's on the list.
So heroin, cocaine, speed, ice, everything.
And these are providers that are there to do harm.
Now, how can the minister, who, by the way, has been in charge for over 2 years, sit back and argue today with Laura that people choose to focus on the negative instead of the positive things the disability scheme is doing? That's wrong for a start. 2.5 years, or 2 years and a bit, is a long time. And you have to ask, when is this Albanese government going to take responsibility for anything? They won't take blame for the visa debacle, saying Peter Dutton was worse. They won't take responsibility for lack of numbers in the ADF, or the fact that we are in a technical recession, or exploding immigration numbers, inflation, or interest rate rises. Surely at some stage you have to put your hand up and admit 2 years in, minus the, by the way, the pressures of a COVID pandemic, and say things are not great, instead of saying it's all the other mob's fault. If you watch Question Time any day, that's Labor's answer to any question about performance. Surely the Prime Minister must know those excuses can't last forever. Voters are not mugs, and when it comes time to vote, they will decide who to vote for based on how they feel about their personal circumstances at the time. If their kids can't afford to buy a house, if their energy bills keep going up, insurance costs so much they think about dropping it, or feel pain every time they fill up the car with petrol, they will know exactly who to blame. New governments always have a honeymoon period, but surely the honeymoon for this government can't last beyond 2 years, can it? It seems, though, Treasurer Jim Chalmers is hanging on to the idea that the cost of living crisis and virtual recession we're actually experiencing is somehow the Morrison-Frydenberg government's fault.
It is not unprecedented for the economy to go backwards in per capita terms. We know that because it happened on their watch as well. They are the same characters that left behind massive deficits, a huge amount of debt, inflation almost double what it is now, real wages falling, real spending growth higher than it is now. And that's why, Mr Speaker, nobody takes the Shadow Treasurer especially seriously. And if he wants to ask lots of questions about the national accounts and the budget, I'd say that would be a very good thing.
Come on, Jim. Quit the subtle bragging, stop the excuses, ditch the blame game. It's time to man up.